Our first honoree this evening is Archbishop Diarmuid Martin of Dublin, Ireland. Patrick Lynch will be presenting the Medal of Honor to Archbishop Martin.
Good evening. A little over a year and a half ago, Father Tom and I were having dinner and talking about my upcoming visit to Ireland. I mentioned that I had planned on making an appointment to see Archbishop Martin on business, and Father said, why don't you ask him if he'd accept the Medal of Honor next year? And I said, fine, and Father Tom prepared a letter for the Archbishop making the request. The Archbishop graciously agreed to see me at the Chancery in Dublin, and I presented him with Father Tom's letter. After reading the letter, the Archbishop looked up at me with a quizzical look and asked, and why would you want to be giving me this medal? Being Irish myself, rather than give a simple, direct answer, I told him a story. I described Ender's Island, the Edmundites, the different types of programs and recovery missions that we hosted, retreats such as Matt Talbot weekends. We'll hear more about Matt Talbot in a minute, but at this point the Archbishop stopped me and said, and do you know I'm leading the cause for Matt Talbot's canonization? And voila, my Irish solution. I said, exactly, Archbishop, and that's why we want to give you this medal. There are many other reasons why Archbishop Martin deserves this medal, but first let me tell you a little bit about Matt Talbot. Matt Talbot was an impoverished Irishman and lay Franciscan who lived in the latter part of the 19th century in Ireland. As with many alcoholics, his drinking initially was not an everyday occurrence, but over time progressed into an addiction where he sacrificed everything for alcohol. We've heard that story tonight. His recovery around the age of 30, and continued sobriety for the next 40 years, has over time made a profound impact on Catholic alcoholics who are in recovery all over the world. In 1976, Matt's devotion to the Rosary, his example of triumph over adversity through prayer, caused Pope Pius VI to bestow on him the title of Venerable. It was this unique aspect of Matt's life of abstinence and prayer and penitence, I will get to you, Archbishop, I promise, that led Archbishop Martin to take on the cause of canonization of Matt Talbot, which had been stalled for many years. Archbishop Martin recognizes Matt Talbot and the ministry that his life has inspired to be the beacon of hope for many whose lives are too often hopeless because of their addictions. In 2014, a letter written to the priests of the Dublin Archdiocese, His Grace wrote, our communities must never lose hope and must continue to care for those suffering from addiction. Archbishop Martin's years of service to the Church and keen interest in caring for the least of these, my brothers and sisters, especially those imprisoned by addiction, and his pastoral ministry to those affected by it, have proven him to be a man of the greatest virtues, faith, hope, and love. His ministry, bringing peace to those in pain, has shown him to be a truly exceptional prelate and a devoted man of God. In the tradition of St. Edmund of Canterbury, Archbishop Diarmuid Martin is an ordinary person living an extraordinary life. He is truly a person of virtue, truth, and grace. And so, it is therefore the distinct honor and high privilege of the Board of Trustees of St. Edmund's Retreat to bestow upon His Grace Archbishop Diarmuid Martin the St. Edmund's Medal of Honor for service to the Church and community.
I find two speeches here. I'd maybe embarrass somebody very much if I took them with me, because maybe somebody would be left without their speech. I'm not used to getting awards. I'm certainly not used to looking for awards. One thing comes back to my mind this evening when you talked about Matt Talbot. The church where he's buried is in a very poor part of Dublin. In recent times, 6 people have been murdered on the streets of that area because of the drug trade, a huge drug trade, and it's very sad to see a community which worked very hard having to face that. But I celebrate the confirmation in that parish nearly every year. And I was just saying to Bishop Cote about one young lad many years ago. At the end of the confirmation, he was about 12. He made a speech thanking me. And I said to the principal of the school afterwards, he's a very bright young man, you could see that. And she said, you know where he's going now? He's going to visit his mother, who's dying of HIV/AIDS, and his father is an alcoholic, and he's keeping the family together. And she said, you know, he's so bright. I went with him the other day to see his mother, and when we went to the elevator, I pushed the elevator, and he said, Miss, he said, you're wasting your time. You'll be waiting here 10 minutes, come with me. He knew his way right around the hospital. And I said again, he's a very bright child, but he didn't make it. And when I come here this evening and see what you do, you help people to make it. It's very sad when others don't. And I encourage you just to keep going. And remember that little boy, his life never picked up the pieces. To hear what you've done is encouraging, and I think we should be proud of what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Archbishop Martin, and congratulations. Yes.
As somebody who travels around the world very often, one of the problems you meet are what you do with plugs. And when I saw this evening, I thought this was a universal adapter, but apparently it's for something else.
Carry it around with him.